but I don't agree. I don't think they deserve where they are at all. They're not good. Like there are much better bands in Hungarian history, way much better than. I worked with all the big stars, and I toured with Omega, and like.
Did you? Come
those are
on.
assholes. Yeah.
You heard it here.
No, they are not nice people. They are really not nice people.
Allegedly.
Like they were one of the reasons, for example, why I decided to not focus on this in my life, because I just knew that I don't want to be like in this situation right now.
Divas is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Because they were assholes, man. These people were absolute cocky bastards. They really didn't give a fuck about anyone around them. They didn't understand that it's not only them why this whole event exists. It's a whole team of people. Like, it can be even hundreds of people when we are talking about a big festival.
Oh yeah.
And these people were
just so you're aware,
they were very old, like funny. They were like a joke. Literally, they couldn't play their instruments anymore, sing, whatever. But because they were legends and still are basically at least the living members.
They get away with being cheeky.
And everywhere they played, there was thousands of people, and everyone celebrated them, and everyone basically just told them how fucking amazing they are. But they were very bad, and I was a musician, so I heard how bad they are, and I also heard all the things behind the stage. So, like for example, they said that you cannot show my face, a close-up about my face, because it turned out that he's not singing anymore because he's too old. Or the keyboard player, don't show my hand. It turned out that the keyboard player doesn't play anymore. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So they don't even play anymore. It's total playback. Like everything was total bullshit, and people celebrated a bunch of old jerks on the stage, basically. And I just decided not to do it anymore. So that was one of the reasons why I stopped.
You think that when you've been a star long enough, you understand some of the luck that comes with it. You have a bit more wisdom and a bit more humility about it, and you're grateful that people still care about what you do. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes people think they're that special. And
for example, I tell you this story. This was amazing.
I'm getting juicy gossip today.
These dudes, after one of the events,
Let's not say names because I'm not getting sued. All of this is alleged.
This is absolutely. I'm not saying anything that is not public information.
Okay, if it's public information.
So these are the members of the famous Omega band.
Public information.
Very famous in Eastern Europe, not only in Hungary but everywhere in Eastern Europe, because they were big in socialist times. And
because for people that don't know, like, rock bands used to go to prison during communism. Like, it was a completely illegal thing.
No. So not exactly.
I don't know, but like,
have you ever heard about the free tea?
The what?
Free tea.
No.
Okay, we can talk about it later. It's a political thing in Hungarian culture or politics during socialist time.
It was like they would let some people get away with some stuff to keep...
T means tilt, tűrt, támogatott. It means...
It
means there was three categories. Tiltott means... Banned. Tűrt means...
tolerated.
Tolerated, yeah. And támogatott means supported.
Supported, yeah.
And basically this was the free tea,
right.
The rule of the free tea. And these rock bands who were popular, they were either supported or tolerated.
Yeah.
Because there was lots of punks, for example, who were absolutely banned.
Yeah, so communists realized that the public needs, and especially the youth, needs some sort of outlet.
Yeah.
But they didn't want the outlet to get so far that it turns against them. So they tried to sort of get
but
with the times of monitoring.
But it also created actually a very like a soft version of Western rock and roll. Because,
it had to be very polite. It wasn't...
Yeah. So this music, what they play, the Omega, it seems like it's about something, because at that time, they were the rock and roll locally. So for the people, it was really important. Yeah. But if you listen to the lyrics and you
Your line was good.
And if you listen to the stuffs they were inspired by, which came from the Western world, it's not too great. It's great. They copied it in a very professional way, yes.
But the lyrical content could not always
so much more empty. So much more empty.
Like,
but but you're never gonna be able to explain it to my parents' generation.
Like
who grew
petrol
up on
and
this.
lamp.
Yeah. And for them, this is extremely important. These are very important cultural
It's a
experiences.
phenomenon, cultural
Yeah.
titans. You
They
could say.
heard these songs in the radio forever since
Like,
they exist.
The reason I was talking about, the police sort of people going to prison and stuff is because I was having this chat with a metalhead back home, and he's in his 50s now, so he grew up during 80s, 90s, and he basically got stopped by police. He was wearing I think it was an Iron Maiden sort of vest, and he got stopped by police, obviously, and he got told, the vest has to go, and he had long hair, and the police officer was like, don't let me catch you with that long hair again. Like, they would literally police the length of your hair because they were like, okay, you're trouble because you're part of this rock and roll Western music, capitalist scum. Don't you dare. So it's rock music and metal music in Eastern Europe has a very interesting and complicated history. There were snitches. There was, like, obviously you had the rock opera István a király, Stephen the King, which is an interesting.
I've just seen actually a story about it just recently.
Right.
How it was actually supported and why it was supported by.
But
the party.
it was written in a way that could be interpreted in many different ways.
Exactly, obviously.
Because like us watching it, we're watching like technically the bad guy in the film would be Kopijn, who wants to stay free and he wants to be independent and he doesn't want to give in to this new political movement, which would be Christianity at that time.
But he also represented the rock and roll.
He also represented rock and roll. Yes, it was kind of made like he's a rebellious, but he's actually at the end of the day he's wrong-headed. He's not thinking this clearly.
Yeah, but you can argue that he was actually the good guy in the story.
Yeah, so the way they wrote it, the artist of the day kind of left it up to you to interpret.
Because he represents kind of like the common folk.
Yeah,
I would
he does.
say. And then the
And Saint Stephen, who's the king, for those who don't know, Saint Stephen was the first Christian king of Hungary in 1000 AD. He made the big switch from paganism, Hungarian paganism, to Christianity as a survival thing, and he got.
I mean, in reality, it was probably a forced process.
Well, he saved the kingdom because otherwise it would have been probably invaded.
No, it's never been a kingdom before that. He created a kingdom.
Yeah.
I mean, he created so there was a state before. The Hungarian state at the same place, the Avar Khaganate, but it wasn't Christian.
Yeah, so that was the thing. That it was a political strategy to basically ensure that the kingdom's not going to be taken over by.
Yeah, it was accepted
Crusades.
by the Pope and all the Franks and
the other empires would leave it be and wouldn't be like, who's this pagan?
And for exchange,
nation?
he was raised as a Christian and he forced the religion on the people. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like how Christianity spread around with violence.
Yeah, but this was a very interesting metaphor that they used for communism, and then depending on which side you were on, you could read into the story what you wanted. So that was a very ingenious way of getting a bit more of a rebellious message into the public eye. But you had a story about this you were going to tell me about. It was supported, and you wanted to tell me a story about. Oh my God! So come on, give me the juicy gossip.
Yeah. Oh,
we took a little tangent there. But
so there was this event,
right? Allegedly,
usual stuff, thousands of people, blah blah blah. Okay. So obviously, when the band stops playing, everyone celebrates them, and then that's their job. They finish. Yeah, but we still need to obviously take everything apart and put it back to the vans and not like the cars and stuff. So we are working until 6 in the morning, whatever,
Right, okay.
And around when we finished, so it was already almost morning, I remember, or not morning, but like middle of the night. I don't exactly remember, but like let's say 3-4 o'clock at least. We finished, but there was still one tent staying, and like everyone was asking, what about that one tent? Oh no, the 2 members of Omega is still inside. They are still boozing. Like how?
They're boozing. Okay.
Yeah. But we are talking about like 80 years old papas, yeah.
Okay. Hey, listen, you did you at 80.
And then basically around that moment, they came out from the tent totally drunk, like they couldn't walk, and they got a ride. A lift back to Budapest after that by someone or something like this, I don't know. But then we went home, and next day I heard it in the TV, not in the TV, but in the media. Everyone was talking about it. It was the new stuff that the 2 members of Omega, these 2 guys,
Yeah.
were beaten by a taxi driver.
Oh no! Oh.
Yeah.
Bless. Oh, hang
I
on.
was like-
so they. So we don't know what happened. This is.
No, we know. I know what happened.
Oh, allegedly.
Yeah. So this is the funny thing. Obviously, it's not mentioned in any articles, but
They pissed off the taxi driver. Is that what
I
you're saying?
quickly tried to find an article about this story, you know. So I found one, and in the article it says that the taxi driver was aggressive and blah blah blah. Obviously, the members of Omega were the innocent victims, obviously.
2 drunk 80-year-olds.
But there is one sentence in the article by the taxi driver that, yeah, but they were intoxicated like hell, you know, and I just didn't want them into the car. Didn't want to let them into the car, obviously, like you would do, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
he just did his job.
You pick your customers, yeah.
But they didn't want to accept it. They wanted him to take them. So they were the ones who were actually initiating the whole aggression.
Allegedly.
They were totally drunk. I seen it with my own eyes, man. Like they couldn't walk.
I believe in that. Fair
And
enough.
the taxi driver was just doing his job, probably.
Potentially.
But because of
Allegedly,
this whole story, it was actually him who suffered, and not the 2 guys who were so drunk they couldn't speak, barely could speak, man. So it was completely obvious that basically they destroyed the reputation of this taxi driver like this just because it was comfortable for them, you know. It was so disgusting. And this was that moment when I realized that, okay, I don't want to work with these people anymore, and I don't want to do this job and serve the interest of these kind of people. It's just disgusting. Like these are the bottom of the society, you know. And these are the most famous members of our society. So
Well, that's
them.
that's an interesting conversation you can have about what happens to someone when they work really hard to get to somewhere, and then they either get that was my stomach. They either get too comfortable, so that can happen. There's a couple of things that can happen to you when you're at the top. You get too comfortable, complacent, or you can start believing your own hype and believe you're above everybody else.
yeah,
That's another pitfall that you can
imagine, man.
end up in.
You are 80 years old, and basically
You live the
since
rock and
you are
roll life.
23, you are a superstar,
Yeah.
and you never even experience anything else. You always been a superstar for everyone, and everyone knows your name. Literally everyone.
And everyone loves you.
Everyone loves you
And
because
looks
you are
up to
so
you.
amazing.
But not everyone, but a lot of people. You can say maybe even the majority of people.
I mean, I think this band is popular I think there is no person who would, let's say, hate them, who would have negative.
I mean, well, you actively said you're not a big fan of it right now.
But the only reason is because I actually
Work
met
with them, yeah.
Yeah, and it's more about it's not a hatred, but it's a professional
Dislike.
Yes, because they
more like
don't
the-
deserve to be liked,
You're
especially professionally. They are not good at all. I think their music is not good at all. They don't have good music, in my opinion.
Allegedly.
So everyone can but I don't agree. I don't think they deserve where they are at all. They are not good. Like there are much better bands in Hungarian history, way much better than this piece of fucking bastards, because they are just bastards. Like these people, they have the mentality of a 15 years old, but they are 80.
Yeah, they
know?
basically, I mean,
So
they're potentially the Ric Flair of Hungary. You could put it that way.
yeah,
It's still
anyway.
very much rock and roll.
They wanted
right.
to be the Hungarian Pink Floyd, I think.
Well, I'm not sure if they managed.
Their music is definitely sounds like Dark Side of the Moon kind of stuff, like their music from the 70s.